Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club. People hate reading. This month we're doing grab bags. So James picked the movie Rise of the Legend, released in 2016. We bring you Stranger Things, and we bring you movie news. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevenson, Ryan Preston. And here's a description of today's movie, and it's not much of a description. It's almost more of a statement. An orphan whose father has been killed by a dark power attempts to bring justice back to the town. By the way, isn't this like half the comic books / kung fu movies ever made?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also like half the kung fu / comic books ever made. It's a biography.
Well,
True. Just like Superman.
The thing is, like, what were you guys really expecting a kung fu movie to be?
I mean, this is exactly what I expect a kung fu movie to be. Matter of fact, let me launch into this for a second.
Please, well, we can hear you.
The ubiquity of the technology nowadays, you know what I mean, that everyone's kind of got their hands on, you know, sort of the bullet time cameras, the CGI that's really easy to do. It really lends itself to an Eastern style of filmmaking.
So,
I mean, this is the kind of stuff.
Does that mean you like the point of view fight, knife fight?
I mean,
I'm going to be talking about that later.
They were taking chances. I mean, they might have tried maybe a little too much.
Hey, by the way, Carl Urban called and said didn't work for his movie. Why do it on somebody else's? By the way, the first use of bullet time I thought was pretty neat when they had the sword fighting and you could see the air separating with the sword fighting. I thought, okay, that was decent use. And then you hit that mid-air, barn-jumping, rotating 3D kick flip thing. It's just like...
Oh, you mean The Matrix?
Holy crap.
Well,
I was thinking this is one step away from having Keanu Reeves involved. I mean, come on.
Look, but obviously the Wachowskis dragged that directly from the Eastern style of filmmaking.
True.
I mean, they've been doing this kind of shit forever just with wires. You know, and so now that you can do the CGI and actually have the people flying around semi-realistically.
Well, I got to throw
I
back...
just didn't like the bullet time effect in that second scene. I thought it was better when you were showing like I don't know how to describe it, like the sword slashes and the weapon slashes.
You kind of mean like how Kung Fu Hustle did it a few times with the air cutting things.
Yeah,
okay,
I thought was creative.
But I want to go back to the thing of the point of view knife fight. I didn't think that was horrible. I thought it was a bit unnecessary.
That took me out.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like they were throwing the kitchen sink at the director of photography, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
I see. To me, not only did it throw it out, it totally kind of like took me out of the movie. Even the color, everything looked completely different.
But you hate point of view anything.
Yes. Well, I don't disagree with that. That's one of the reasons I won't see Hardcore Henry. But at least the thing I hated about it is if you actually look at the quick parts of film, the film, it was grainy. It almost looked vaguely fish-eye. It's like the fucking waterfall scene from the Hobbit movie. It just drove me nuts.
So you didn't like the color at all? Is that what you're saying?
That whole thing, those back and forth, it just didn't fit the rest of it.
Am I to understand that John Charney didn't like the color palette?
I think so.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it was
unprecedented, folks.
Well,
that's why I was trying to get some
It was the color. It was the color palette. It also looked a little grainy to me. It had a vaguely fish-eye look. To me, didn't really match the rest of the film. I actually thought it interrupted the flow of that fight scene.
You're talking about the point of view fight.
Yeah, the whole thing on that.
Okay. So I want to bring up something because I was fully impressed by the opening alley fight scene.
Yes, I agree. To me, that was totally.
And the thing about this movie is there's, 4 alley fight scenes?
I remember 2.
Well,
There's at least 2 or 3.
I'm a huge fan of anybody fighting in a phone booth like that, you know?
Yeah, and I think the fight choreography that was done in both of the alley fight scenes, because I thought they were really impressive, the first one, and then the second one, for sure, went beyond the first one.
See, the second one...
in difficulty for one. I mean, that was just amazing. The
second one I actually thought was well done because it actually showed a little bit of tactics behind the reason why he was running. It wasn't dumb luck because you saw when he paused, he's like, perfect.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of the times in some of these movies, or any movies in general, it's sheer luck that they find themselves in a tactical advantage. And this scene, to me, even though it was a little bit of luck, it was he understood the tactical advantage of making your enemies fight closer together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
appreciate
that no kung fu movie ever shows a guy getting tired from fighting
Oh.
150 people.
Right?
And
Yeah.
and they almost never, well, they get hurt. They're not really bleeding as much. You know, like you really would be if you fought 250 people.
And the other one I was going to bring back to the one of the other things that I thought was pretty cool was when the boss tells him to go get the head of that
Yes.
guy, and he fights that guy, and then kicks him into the blade and gets him to cut his own head off. That I thought that was creative use of not just knowing where you're at, but usage of everything around you.
That was probably one of the most creative scenes I've seen in any kung fu movie in a long time. And the facial expression and the eye movement and the whole thing of that guy getting his head sliced off. The last time I was this impressed with somebody's head or body being disemboweled was the first Resident Evil. I mean, I was really impressed by that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I was really loving the. Well, okay, so obviously, you know, most kung fu movies, especially like this, especially when they do biographies, you kind of take it with the sort of the legend grain of salt, you know, the big fish story, if you will.
Well, it's just like how Pearl Harbor really happened, you know. Not the actual Pearl Harbor, but the movie.
Are you talking about the Ben
romance.
Affleck?
Yes, the Ben Affleck movie.
Well,
I'm trying not to make another Das Boot.
But this one is way obviously more stylized than the guy's life was going to be.
Yeah.
So, but you get these larger than life characters like the dude playing was Master Liu, I think.
Yes, Sammy Ho.
Yes.
The tubby master guy.
Sammy Cam Ho
was the adopted father of
By the way,
Faye.
he's one of my all-time favorite kung fu fighters. He actually had an American television series. I think it was in the mid 90s or to the early 2000s. So he's literally, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh,
martial
this is
law.
Yes. As soon as I saw him, it's like, this is going to be entertaining because he's literally, in my opinion, one of the best out there.
And he's been in a ton of things. I mean, all the Ip Mans for one, a bunch of Jackie Chan shit.
Yep.
But
he's got history.
I loved watching this dude fight, and again, I mean, kind of the updated technology really feeding the imagination of people doing the kung fu things. And another thing that kind of stuck out to me is I'm always looking for kind of the gimmick, you know, where you have the guys fighting on the pillars trying to avoid the spikes or whatever the gimmick is. Because we've all seen the moves 1,000 times. You know, so it's got to be some other element of danger.
I kind of like the barn fire fight,
dude. With the flames coming up through the boards, the floorboards, that was good. That was clever.
The only thing that I wanted to bring it back to was John is right in the fact that in that fight sequence they could have done without all the Matrix style flying around and stuff. And then the other thing that kind of got to me, and the only reason why is because I've seen so many Asian films, whether it be Indonesian, Thai, Chinese, Japanese, all those. I've seen these, and in there, that one, I could see the wires. I could see the wires on their clothes. I could see the suspension things through their outfits. And I don't think there's an excuse for it anymore.
You know, that's actually something that doesn't bug me as much as bad CGI. There's a couple of scenes within a couple of sections within that barn fight scene where the CGI looked kind of like Captain, you know, the Sky Captain, The World of Tomorrow-esque.
That's really pulling something out there.
Yeah, just a tad. So the fight scene, the only problem I really truly have with some of the stuff on here is because there's a couple of scenes like the barn fight scene where they throw gimmick after gimmick. I mean, it was practically a wrestling match. I mean, on how many gimmicks they were throwing out there. But to me, this is kind of a throwback a little bit, kind of in the way they did it. I'd say even more than what is it? The one that came out a couple of years ago. Not House of the Flying Daggers, but the other one.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
So I actually really liked that. I liked the way they fought. I liked the choreography. Everything about this movie was actually fairly well done, and I came in not expecting much, which for me in a kung fu movie is usually I'm expecting like Chocolate Fighter or something that to me is like top of the mark.
Yeah. But Ryan, you were talking about the barn fight scene, and you like the fact that they were adding that as a gimmick.
Yeah, because I'm always looking for the extra thing like that because I'm expecting it every time.
So, but you're kind of thinking of the kickboxer type stuff because that's where you get the blood,
the blood sport, the hands in glass, or
Dark Kumite.
Jackie Chan. I'm freaking gonna forget the movie where he was fighting on the pillars, trying not to fall off.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 100 different movies where they did that, but something like that,
Yeah, I was trying to think. There's another one where he fights the guy with the floor burning too.
Yeah,
metal floor on fire.
I mean,
no, that was Flying Guillotine.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
So
right.
some of this, and unfortunately, I don't know how innovative you can be in this particular genre, considering at this point, everything's kind of like a trope. How they fight.
Well, I wanted to bring up, but I want to see your guys' view on this one. Is like John, I didn't even know what I was going to get into because I literally watched this 2 days before we recorded this show. I already had an easy 5-star rated pick. I know both of them would give it 5s, and I saw this and I just kind of put it on, and from the initial scene where he's fighting in the alley, I mean, I was engrossed in this film. And, when I come into a kung fu film, I'm not looking for a really in-depth story. And that's really what this was. It was basically like the normal kung fu film where you have, revenge for your family or friends that got killed. And then, it's the journey is usually changed. But it's usually a story of vengeance or revenge or something like that.
It's the suitcase, it's the briefcase. Yeah. It's enough of a story to drive the action.
Yeah. And I was actually really impressed by the way that they took this and had the orphans, because that's the group that they were part of, was the orphan gang type thing, and how they did their own kind of chess play or mahjong strategy in this.
Yes.
And I thought that was really innovative to bring into a story like this.
I totally agree. That was the one part that really kind of...
Like the keys, the whole key thing. I thought that was really interesting.
The strategy and how they were really driving everything, that everything they did have a purpose. That was something to me that was like, hey, this is fairly original. Everything had a reason. They were the smartest people in the room and nobody heard about them.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally with you. I was kind of blown away by that, actually.
And I'm kind of like John in the sense that when I come into a kung fu flick, I'm looking for the type of story that or the standard of what we're saying is like a 5 where it's a Chocolate Fighter, or we have Hero, or something like Kung Fu Hustle, which I can't even bring into this because that's a comedy. This is not.
Well, the only thing I would disagree was that was a straight comedy. Most kung fu movies, at least from everyone I've seen, always have
comedy elements.
Yeah, not a lot of levity, but
like
always
Drunken Master.
Yeah, always enough levity that it's not just this emotional slog, which is something that, in my experience, they always have an amazing balance of.
Yeah, but this one, I was kind of surprised because it wasn't trying to be a comedy. This was, in my viewpoint, this would be in comparison of Hero or Ran or Zatoichi or something like that, of where you kind of come into it and there's an epicness to it. And they haven't, as far as I've seen, I have not seen a good kung fu Chinese film that has been on the par of Fearless or Hero in years.
I would agree with you, except minus the epic. This didn't have the epic feel to me. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, to me, it had just kind of a more contemporary feel to sort of the type of kung fu movies that are just sort of dime a dozen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the thing about kung fu movies is they sort of get churned out, much like westerns used to, back in the 60s. It was just cheap for the shit. You get a couple of horses in the desert, there you go. But so kung fu movies. I mean, I like that it was a period piece, and sort of those have become kind of really fun for me. Especially with like Fearless and Hero and stuff like that. This one felt a little more contemporary in its approach, a little more contemporary music, contemporary cinematography, but just again kind of updated versions of the same kind of things.
So what do you give this movie?
To me, it's a 3. It kind of lost me about the 15th flashback that went through.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really just was back and forth between flashback and fight scene. And, I like that they played the long con with the storyline. It was some really complicated things going on in there. But amongst all the fight scenes, kind of got lost a little bit. So, I mean, it's definitely not a perfect movie, but damn good, like sort of contemporary effort, I guess.
So I'm completely with Ryan, and we gotta hurry up and finish the segment.
Yeah,
but
we did kind of get on there.
the one thing I totally agree was actually wrote in my notes was the flashbacks were poorly done in my opinion. I understand why they did it. I understand where they were placed, but they kind of drove me nuts in the way they did it. To me, this is a strong 3 out of 5, almost 4. But the POV really killed it for me, and some of the other things did. But I truly do hate POV in movies. It's a gimmick like 3D, James.
Well, I understand where you guys are coming from, but I look at this as a little bit different. I think that it was that they were shooting for the moon, and they were and as far as I'm concerned, they were looking to get past the House of Flying Daggers and the Curse of the Golden Flower. That's the other one that John was trying to think of. And I think that there is a lot that they can improve on, like you're saying. I don't think the point of view knife fight was a complete fail. I think it needed to be refined. And like I said, with the CGI and also the wires or the harness that you were able to see in that one thing, I think that detracts from it. I like the story. I wasn't even bothered by the flashbacks, and I'm going to give it a 4. For me, it was a surprise to come across something like this after all the years of the attempts and the failures of trying to catch Crouching Tiger.
So
that's what it looked like to me.
We're going to switch off to a Netflix original series. This is our television section of Stranger Things. And it gives a quick synopsis of when a young boy disappears, his mother, a police chief, and his friends must confront terrifying forces in order to get him back. The first thing that really impressed me was it has an 80s feel, but with modern cinematography, which, by the way, is an insane thing to balance.
Okay, I want to throw this out there.
And holy crap, Winona Ryder. What rock did they find her under?
I know, and it looks like they did find her under a rock. She looks a little haggard, and I know that's what they're going for, but, just throwing that out there. Now, we did this movie a few years back, Super 8,
yes.
And this is what I was hoping Super 8 would have been.
I'm glad you said that.
I completely agree.
Because as soon as I watched the first episode, and I literally went through all of these episodes in a day, people, because I was just that engrossed by it.
And so there's, what was it? It's 55 minutes total. How many episodes is it?
8.
That's not too bad. And I completely agree with you on the super comment.
8, yeah.
Jeez, I'm trying to.
The only thing that kind of bothered me. Now I don't know if you guys caught it, but it was the first thing that came to mind. Where did they get the rights for the Mass Effect soundtrack? I'm just throwing that out there. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
That sounds.
Yeah, it really did kind of. Man, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that.
And I don't really want to. I don't personally. I don't think you could describe too much about this particular episode without giving anything away.
No.
I really like the touches.
Did you watch it with Laura?
No, it was by myself.
I think this would be where a female version can get into it too.
I really love the children in this, and they were spot on for what they're trying to tell, and I'm really excited about seeing the next episodes because I just stopped at the first one.
Because Netflix threw this out at me a couple times where they threw the trailer on when I turned on Netflix, and I was like, hey, this. At first glance, I'm like, oh, it's just going to be Super 8, and I'm going to feel disappointed, and then it put it on again, and I'm like, I'm just doing some computer work, might as well, and I didn't get any computer work done.
This to me is what Netflix original should be, because this,
Yeah.
I don't think with the premise that you saw in the first movie, episode, I don't think it would have been made on an Alphabet channel, maybe ABC, maybe HBO. I really don't think so. This is what's perfect about it. You get an 8-episode trial run, and I guarantee they're going to make more episodes based on the fact that they hit a line that's really hard to balance with having that retro feel, but with a modern cinematography, a modern storytelling, even though I think it was a little bit older.
Well, I mean, I think, it had early 80s, right?
Yeah, early 80s.
Yeah.
This is, when kids were D&D and stuff.
But
So.
yeah, exactly. Well, the glasses is what gave it away for me. But when you brought up the Super 8, the reason that I kind of picked Super 8 back in the day, or when we reviewed it or whatever, was I was really looking for like the next Goonies. You know what I mean? The one that like a kid could watch and be like, holy shit, I want to be like these kids, or I want to go on adventures.
Yeah.
So the whole time me and my girlfriend are watching this, and I'm like shouting at the TV, like, go find your friend, man. Like, he needs you. It's up to you to save the day.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're definitely going to give this a must watch. And and holy crap, Winona Ryder. The first time I'm thinking of I saw her, I was like, whoa.
Dude, man, killing it in this show too, dude.
Such an amazing job, and she looked like she sobered up. And ladies and gentlemen, we do have a Facebook page, and we do have a challenge for you.
Man.
Is there a movie that you think we should do? We want to know. We also want to thank you for watching. And the other thing is, we do have an audio podcast. You can catch us on Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and more. And so we're going to switch into movie news. And the first one that I'm actually excited about was Mel Gibson is returning to directing with the film Hacksaw Ridge. And the last movie we saw him direct was Apocalypto. And I love Mel Gibson's directing style. And I don't think he's directed a lot, because before that was Passion of the Christ.
No, he had some Jew problems.
So I'm really excited about seeing Mel Gibson actually back in Hollywood again. There's a rumor of him acting in other movies too, so I'm really jazzed.
I always liked him as an actor. He's got the tough guy routine down.
And I think he has a timing that most people they have a hard time getting, if you know what I mean, as far as the way he does things.
Yeah.
The other one was and why Pyle is Nick Jonas talks to join the Jumanji remake. Why do you have to remake Jumanji? I mean,
because there's nothing else. Actually, if you want to talk about it,
there's no cell phones in it, dude. And so kids watch it today and they're like, why don't they just call somebody?
But you had one of
why don't they take a video of this shit?
You had one of, if not the greatest drama comedy actor ever in Robin Williams. I do not think you could improve on that movie.
No, there's nothing wrong with that with the first movie.
No.
It's kind of a bizarre remake. It's not like people have forgotten about it.
Well, if you want an original, Mr. Ryan gets a little wet for this guy. Tommy Cruise out there is actually redoing doing a new film.
The Mummy?
No, Mena. A pilot lands work for the CIA and as a drug runner in the South during the 1980s.
Wait, hasn't he already done movies? I mean, why all of a sudden is he some sort of spy? First he was some sort of action hero in Days of Thunder, and you had Top Gun. Then he was jumping on couches and chopping off people's heads in samurai movies. Now he's another spy.
Yeah.
Hey, look, as long as he's riding a motorcycle without a helmet and a flowy shirt, I'm fine.
and
you don't like him dancing in his tidy whities?
No, I'm a little later in his career.
Right.
And
when he started having little IFBs in his ear, listening to people talk to him.
Okay. No, show me the money.
No, I'm a Jerry Maguire fan.
All right.
And he just likes the money shot. And in the wow, they sobered him up pile. Gonna add that onto the previous comment was Gary Busey is gonna be in the next Sharknado movie, or at least in talks to.
I mean,
Come on, man. Most of that was head injury.
Are you just waiting for these guys to jump out of the bushes and beat you? I mean, Winona Ryder, I mean, she would jump out of the bushes and kill you.
What is she gonna do? Steal something from me? I mean, come on. But in all honesty, Gary Busey is perfect for like Sharknado.
Yeah, he can do the B movie stuff, so.
And I give him crap for being weird, but I legitimately liked him when he wasn't so crazy.
Before head injury?
Yeah, like on Under Siege, I thought he played the perfect line between intelligence and nuts.
Well, I mean, come on, Mr. Joshua, dude.
Yeah.
I
True.
mean, John really has something against people with strokes. I mean, he hates Forrest Whitaker.
I wouldn't say.
I'm just throwing you under the bus, man. You're the one that put yourself in the way.
Yeah,
I'm just keeping you there.
Keller you were telling us earlier.
She just couldn't find her way out of the box.
Oh, jeez. I have a joke, but it's really inappropriate now.
What have we been doing?
Way to put me in the back of the bus. And this is actually one of the coolest thing. Kirk Douglas is turning 100.
Oh,
and
Jesus,
UCLA
really?
did a retrospective look at his career, and he is legitimately one of my favorite actors. There's very few movies I've ever seen him done that I'm like done or do, depending how close he gets to his 100th birthday.
Jesus.
Is every movie I've seen of his is amazing. There's only a few that I just didn't really like.
Yeah, no, that dude is like the embodiment of a living legend.
Oh
Yeah.
It's unreal, that guy's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're jumping around in a lot of movie news, and in the thank God pile, everybody's favorite Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, promised not to be in a cameo for the Rogue One Han Solo's story.
Why would they even consider him for a cameo?
I don't know, but I'm just happy he's not going to be in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just wondering why they would even consider it.
Yeah, so he's turning down something that he wasn't even offered?
Right?
How's that work?
I don't know, but he's another person, just like the chick from Twilight, who can never smile.
I mean, I'd be happy to have James Earl Jones in that as a cameo, but not him.
I could see that makes more sense. So I don't know. It was one of those things that I always thought was weird.
I mean, James Earl Jones is still like 14 years younger than Kirk, so I mean, he's still got to be going and kicking.
See, you guys know about the new Magnificent Seven, right?
Yes.
So-
I'm wanting to see it. I'm just hoping
The
they
Toronto
do it.
Film Festival opened with the Denzel Washington and the Magnificent Seven. My biggest problem is I love Yul Brynner.
Yeah.
And so that's to me is the biggest hurdle, because Yul Brynner in that movie was amazing.
Well, I mean, this goes back to us doing True Grit in the same sense, you know. I mean, the first True Grit was done really well, and the second one...
Affinity for John Wayne, though?
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of...
True, and I guess you could say how good it was, because the new one was almost a 1-to-1 remake.
Yeah.
Well, for one, I was being sarcastic. I didn't have an affinity for John Wayne. He was never really my kind of Western guy. I was
just ignoring your comment.
You know, but that being said, I mean, the True Grit remake was for me. You know what I mean? Like the person who thought that the John Wayne shit was a little old and outdated.
See, I like both version of movies, because John Wayne was a true blue hero. Clint Eastwood was always kind of an anti-hero, so I liked both different style of westerns.
Well, see, this is why I was always
just
the
don't
Han
like
Solo
spaghetti.
fan instead of the Luke Skywalker fan. So,
And another animated DC movie I'm looking forward to is DC confirms Justice League Dark. Basically, this is going to have like John Constantine in it. From what I've read, it sounds like it's going to be the more darker kind of mysticism and magic area that nobody else can cover.
I just think they should just, you know, start doing the comic book Injustice Gods Among Us for
So
for
here's
those. That'd be fun.
So Batman's going to be right next to John Constantine, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, Deadman, Etrigan, and Black Orchid. So you're gonna have the demon, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Dude, Etrigan, I can't wait for that now.
They haven't done much with Etrigan since
Well,
the
at
early
all.
90s.
I mean, wasn't that a Teen Titans thing after Raven?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, they also did because Etrigan was actually a member of King Arthur's court.
Yeah.
There was a part in one of the Justice League TV series shows, and there was it Flash or one of the comic book characters' comment was, "Wow," and I thought Bats was scary
Yeah.
because he was the one that said, "What was it? Gone, the form of man, come the demon Etrigan or whatever." I'm really excited. The DC movies the cartoon movies are way better than the DC live action movies.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, and almost vice versa for the or so far for Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, hands down, true. Hands down. Except for the Doctor Strange cartoon. I actually thought that was pretty well done as an introduction to the character.
Yeah, it was. I just don't. They didn't. I don't know. I
thought it
think
was too
versus
short.
the actual comic book versus the thing, I think the comic book gives you a little bit more into why he's the way he is.
Yeah, that's hard to do. I think
It is.
that's
It's
hard
a
to do.
hard transference, especially since when I'm talking about the comic book, I'm talking 1960s.
Yeah, and
So-
that type of medium, then especially that particular characters are really hard to transfer from. I think it makes a better transference to cartoon animation than doing it to live action, because there's a lot of stuff that you got to figure out how to explain and show, and not give people seizures.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah.
So with that
Great
that excitement,
input.
Ryan, what movie you're doing for next week? Because you're up.
Did we ever do Being John Malkovich?
Yes.
Shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is another example of not doing your homework.
Well, it's another example of having a shitty memory and not remembering like a year and a half ago when we fucking picked every movie I want to watch.
That was
That's what I was
longer
gonna
than
do.
that. That was, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 200 of your favorite movie show. So that was probably a little bit more.
That together.
That was 5 years worth of an amazing show. So Ryan, do you have any idea? You just want to kick it down the street?
We're gonna kick this one down the street.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to tell you to do is stay tuned to this space, being facebook.com/realflixreviews, and we'll tell you what movie we're doing as soon as Ryan figures out what movies we've done. And I gave the movie Rise of Legend a 3 out of 5. James gave it a 4 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 3 out of 5. Next week is... stay tuned. And as always,
Okay.
thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Thank you.